cross-platform mobile work as a consultant and contractor and freelancer. And so I've done mostly Xamarin, but also I've dabbled in Ionic and React Native. But yeah, so then last year I started dabbling in Flutter. Just at first it was just a curiosity thing, and because I wanted to just understand it and learn it. But then, as I got a bit more momentum, I eventually shipped my own app about 1 month ago. And as of now, I have 0 daily active users. But yeah, I've sort of temporarily stopped working on it while I have a baby. But yeah, hoping to pick up again in not too long, and keep working on it a bit more and just flesh out the idea. But yeah, if anyone wants to have a look at it, it's called Xplorr. It's Xporr, double R at the end. So it's just a little Flutter app I've shipped about a month ago, and it's available in both iOS and Android. Yeah, maybe I'll pass over to Glenn, and he can introduce himself.
All right. Do I have to use the mic?
Yes.
Can everybody hear me?
No, use the mic, please.
Use the mic. Oh, thank you very much. Hi, I'm Glenn. Before I started Expedia about 5 months ago, I was a freelance programmer, developer, and I got a project. I just finished writing a previous project, and I'd written it in Android and then iOS. And Flutter just came out of beta. I thought, I don't have to write 2 platforms. So I picked it up a year and a few months ago, and I've been writing this project for a year and a bit. And I hadn't used Streams, hadn't used Reactive, so I had to pick all of that up. And I actually found somebody was asking how quick it took to do it. I actually found it fitted in well. I followed what's called the block pattern, where basically it's equivalent to the view model or the presenter, and you only talk to it with streams in, streams out. And if you follow that and you use the interface and you use a stream builder, it all fits together very, very well and very easily. So if you follow the patterns, yeah, I found it very, very quick.
So, any questions from you?
I kind of have a question. I don't know if you can answer it. So we were sort of researching Flutter about a year ago or something, and it was like they don't do GPS very well. Like it's something that there's an inefficiency in there. Have you guys ever had any exposure to how it works within the GPS sort of environment?
Yeah, I used in the app that I wrote. The guy wanted some mapping data to figure out where what I'm writing is a craft beer, spirits and wine. So basically, the local craft breweries, basically you can go and order some beer. So he wanted a map to say where the local places were. So I incorporated that in. There's a Google Maps library, and I didn't see any problem, but I wasn't doing real time. It would open up and basically say, right, here's the coordinates, and it would say it was very narrow or very, very wide, and that worked fine. I don't know if
We're looking for real time.
Real time.
Yeah. The app I wrote is a real-time location-based game.
Yep.
And I still need to do a bit more extensive testing on it, but my initial findings were there are a few different geolocation GPS libraries out there for Flutter, but my initial impressions were it's good enough for what I needed to do.
The app that I helped a mate of mine hire some Ukrainians to build. We were originally, I went to school with him, he's been 10 years, he contacted me. We originally weren't going to use Flutter because of that problem with maps. So when it was still, before it was released in is that November or December of 2018 when they released it, they still hadn't, they needed what they call platform views, which is where you can basically take a native Android or iOS view and then display that within the Flutter widget tree hierarchy. And that was not great and quite slow. They couldn't get the frames per second working. Like the frame, 60 frames per second is their kind of goal, and they couldn't get it there. when they went 1.0, that was like they made, I don't know if anybody watched the talk, but they had a little animation and they had a little Google map which is zoomable inside the hand of an animated guy on the screen. And you could zoom in on it, and that was a platform native widget inside, like, an anime. It was quite impressive. So it's painful if you have to write that code, but consuming it seems to be. So he is now live. The app's called Flux, F-L-U-X-X. He's based in Emerald. I don't know if you can, I'm pretty sure he's live. It's basically Uber for deliveries for remote people. So like if you live at 5 hours from Rockhampton, out in the middle of central Queensland, a lot of people do that trip every week, right? So he's trying to connect farmers and miners that do that trip every week. He's trying to get goods in and out of the cities. So that's real-time, location-based stuff. And so the Ukrainian guys we hired, a team called Solid Software, really, really knowledgeable guy. And he'd been doing Flutter maps for another startup, which was some horse-based thing. People who had horses and, I don't know, I have no idea. But he was super keen to do it, and they've done a really good job. And they do real-time mapping. He used OpenMaps in that horse one, but they're using Google Maps in Flux, and they haven't had any issues. I catch up with them from time to time, and it seems to be working really well. So, but I take that as it is. Like it's still, you have to evaluate for your use case.
I have a question.
I was just going to add to well, actually, yeah, I just realized it does exactly that real time GPS. People have to place assets.
People have to place assets certain distances apart. So when they walk, say, 100 meters that way, they can stop right at 100 meters, place their asset, and doing that. And yeah, I haven't had a problem at all.
Any more questions?
Do you have to do any platform-specific code in your apps?
In the app I wrote,
Yes.
it's 100% Flutter, so I haven't had a need to go platform specific just yet.
Yeah, I'm a bit the same. It's all 100%, but there's kind of a differential on how you want it to look. If you want, a picker, Android kind of has a drop down, and iOS has a spinner, and it's basically you might alienate an iOS crowd by not having the spinner. So, how far do you want to go? I kind of go with the Android, just make it look like iOS, because if you buy an Android, you don't really care the looks, but the iOS people don't.
Yeah, so we've done a reasonable, not heaps, but we have done some platform-specific code. So the glue layer between C++ and Flutter, that had to be native on each platform. We used Objective-C instead of Swift because Objective-C talks to C++ easier. But then we've got, so anytime we've needed to talk to native, we've bundled it into a plugin. So the plugin ecosystem is actually excellent because you can consume it from sources direct from Git. So like in Android land, right, you've got to publish Maven packages and it's just a pain, whereas in this you can just tell the dependency management system to look at a local path while you're developing. And so you can even use hot reload editing a plugin. So that's brilliant. So we have 2 plugins that we've written. One for sharing files, because there's a Flutter wrote a share thing. The Flutter team wrote a share thing, but it doesn't share files, it only shares text. So we just forked that and hacked it to do what we want. And then anyway, there's some hacks. But so that has native Android and iOS stuff to talk to the native sharing ecosystems on both. And then the video encoding as well, because short of paying for a library, we had to write that using whatever ecosystem and whatever codecs were supported on each platform. And we don't care what the output of a video file is, as long as it's supported on the platform it's exported from. But MP4 turned out to be the one, the same on both, but the way that they go about encoding it is drastically different. So yeah, there's quite a lot of code in that, actually, like a huge chunk of code to get it to work on Android. Our C++ guy got it working. Magic.
So I have a question. So what do you guys think the future for this?
Otherwise, I'll just talk.
I think the future's bright, but I think the killer feature that hasn't been mentioned is the hot reload. It's the fact that you can write your code and bang, see it straight away. Whilst I'm sitting at Expedia and I write something and I sit there for a minute and a half waiting for it to compile. By the time it comes up, you've forgotten what you're doing. Just that instant bang bang, that loop back, that feedback loop is the killer feature. Everything else is it's been done before. That's the killer feature.
For me, I think native iOS and Android will always have a place. But as far as cross-platform mobile goes, I think the future is definitely React Native or Flutter. Personally, I'm putting my effort into Flutter, so I'm trying to move out of the Xamarin space and into the Flutter space. And I've just picked up my first freelance client just by doing my own project. I felt I had enough confidence to be able to estimate projects for myself. So yeah, I'm more than happy to pick up Flutter work for myself now, and that's what I'm personally using as leverage to move away from Xamarin for myself.
I have a question. May I ask why you're moving away from Xamarin to Flutter? Thank you.
Says the Xamarin person.
I don't want to be too negative because it still pays my day bill. It's still my day job. But I think with Xamarin, there's just so many points of failure, especially if you do Xamarin Forms. And so that's the first reason. And the second reason is just the compilation time. So I built my app, doing 1 or 2 hours a night because I have 3 kids now. So my time to build my own app and have my own fun, creative, technical time, geek out time is, after the kids go to bed. I could never dream of doing a Xamarin project in my spare time, but with Flutter, I feel I could deliver a small project by myself in my spare time. Just that compilation time is a killer, especially if you're doing any UI work, waiting 2-3 minutes just to see whether the control you put on the screen move 5 pixels to the right or not. It's just with Flutter, it's instant, like Glenn was saying.
So it's a good question. So you guys have talked about what does really well. Okay, collectively or independently.